They waited for help. They waited for a reply. They waited for a miracle. And the galaxy answered with silence. For the people of Aurelian, silence was not just the absence of sound. It was a sentence of death. Aurelian was a blue-green world wrapped in silver cloud bands, calm oceans broken by floating cities that glowed softly at night. For centuries, its people, called the Lyrathi, had believed they were safe. They were not warriors. They were engineers, teachers, explorers. They traded knowledge, not weapons. Their defenses were built to deter pirates, not survive extinction. That belief shattered the day the Kraith Dominion arrived. The Kraith did not announce themselves. They did not send warnings or demands. Their fleet simply unfolded from hyperspace at the edge of the system like a wound tearing open the stars. Massive, jagged ships drifted forward, black and angular, covered in weapon arrays that pulsed with a sick red glow. Within hours, Aurelian's outer stations were gone. Within days, their moons burned. High above the planet, in a council chamber carved from crystal and light, High Speaker Elian Tareth stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the tactical display. Each red symbol marked another lost city, another million lives erased. "They are closing the net," said Advisor Celine Marr, her voice tight. "Orbital defenses are down to 20%. Elian did not answer. He already knew. Every projection said the same thing. 7 days. That was all Aurelian had left. The Kraith Dominion was old, older than most civilizations in the galaxy. They believed survival belonged only to the strong. Any species that could not defend itself deserved extinction. They did not conquer worlds to rule them. They erased them to make space. Aurelian had sent distress calls the moment the invasion began. They sent them to everyone. To the Velmari Consortium, who controlled the nearest trade routes. To the Talaris Concord, famous for its massive fleets. To the Scalarium worlds, who claimed moral leadership of the galaxy. The replies came quickly at first. Carefully worded. Polite. Cowardly. "We regret your situation, but intervention would destabilize regional security. Our fleets are committed elsewhere. The probability of success is too low." One by one, the messages stopped. The galaxy had made its choice. In the lower levels of the city of Kylian Spire, citizens gathered around public screens, watching the same unanswered transmission repeat on loop. Parents held children close. Elders sat in silence. No one screamed. There was no panic anymore, only a quiet, shared understanding that the end was approaching. Elian turned away from the display. "How many systems remain that we have not contacted?" Celine hesitated. 1. The room fell still. "You mean them," said Defense Marshal Corin Vale, his voice heavy with disbelief. Celine nodded. "Human space." Several council members exchanged looks. Some looked offended. Others afraid. "The humans are barely a presence," Corin said. "They are young. Their technology is unconventional. They fight each other more than anyone else. They are unpredictable," another councillor added. "And dangerous." Elian remembered the files. Humanity had entered the galactic stage only a few centuries ago. Their ships were inelegant, thick hulls, visible armor, engines that roared instead of whispered. They did not favor efficiency. They favored redundancy. Overkill. Survival. They had fewer worlds than most powers. Smaller fleets. Shorter lifespans. But wherever humans went, they endured. "They are too far away," Celine said quietly. "And even if they came, the Kraith would destroy them too." Elian closed his eyes. "What harm is left to do?" he asked. No one answered. The final distress call was sent without ceremony. It was not written in diplomatic language. There were no treaties referenced, no offers of trade. It was a plea. "This is High Speaker Elian Tareth of Aurelian. Our world is under extinction-level attack by the Kraith Dominion. Our defenses have failed. Our allies have declined aid. Billions of civilians remain planet-side. We are requesting assistance from any who can hear this message. If you can come, please come." The signal vanished into the void. Days passed. The Kraith moved closer. Their ships settled into orbit like predators circling wounded prey. Energy weapons began testing the planetary shields. Each impact sent shockwaves through the cities below. Buildings trembled. Oceans heaved. In the council chamber, Elian listened as reports grew worse. Shield collapse estimated at 48 hours. Evacuation impossible. Casualties rising. At night, Elian stood alone on the observation balcony, watching the sky glow red as orbital fire burned above the atmosphere. He thought of all the civilizations that had chosen safety over courage. He wondered if he would have done the same in their place. On the 7th day, the shields began to fail. In the command center, alarms screamed as energy levels plummeted. Kraith assault vessels descended toward the surface in massive formations. "This is it," Corin said softly. Celine lowered her head. Then a technician froze at his station. "Sir," he said, voice shaking. Long-range sensors just detected something. Elian turned. "Kraith reinforcements." "No," the technician whispered. "This is different." The display shifted. At the edge of the system, space itself twisted. Stars bent. Light stretched. Reality folded inward like fabric being pulled through a ring. "It's impossible," Celine breathed. "There's nothing in our records." The distortion exploded outward. Not one ship. Not 10. Hundreds. Massive silhouettes tore into real space in perfect formation. Thick-hulled vessels layered with armor. Engines burning white-hot. Hull markings sharp and aggressive. Weapons mounted openly, unapologetically. The Kraith fleet hesitated. For the first time since their arrival, they stopped advancing. A transmission cut through every channel at once. Clear, steady, unmistakably calm. "This is Admiral Rowan Hale of the United Terran Fleet." The voice paused. "We received your message." Above Aurelian, the sky filled with metal and fire. And the galaxy, watching from afar, realized it had been wrong. Humanity had not stayed silent. For a long moment, no one on Aurelian spoke. The command center was silent except for the hum of failing shields and the distant thunder of orbital fire. Every screen showed the same impossible sight, hundreds of massive ships hanging in space where, moments ago, there had been nothing. They were not elegant. They were not beautiful. They were terrifying. Each human vessel was built like a moving fortress. Thick armor plates overlapped at harsh angles. External weapon systems rotated openly, as if daring the enemy to try something foolish. Engines burned bright and loud, flooding space with heat and radiation that made sensor arrays struggle to keep up. They came," Celine whispered. High Speaker Elian felt his knees weaken. He gripped the railing to steady himself, afraid that if he blinked, the vision would disappear. Across the system, the Kraith Dominion reacted. Their ships shifted formation, weapon arrays realigning toward the newcomers. The red glow along their hulls intensified as targeting systems locked on. The Kraith had destroyed civilizations far older and stronger than Aurelian. They did not fear resistance. But this was unexpected. Human fleet strength. Corin demanded. The sensor officer swallowed hard. Estimating 600 major combat vessels. Multiple classes. Unknown weapon signatures. Power output exceeding Kraith norms by a lot. Elian stared at the display. Why would they come? No one answered, because no one knew. The human fleet did not advance immediately. They spread out, forming a wide arc between Aurelian and the Kraith Armada. It was a protective stance, deliberate, unmistakable. Another transmission came through. "Aurelian Command," Admiral Hale said, his voice calm but firm. "We are assuming defensive posture. Do not lower your shields yet. We will handle the rest." Corin let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "They're putting themselves between us and the Kraith." "They're shielding us," Celine said, disbelief in her eyes. On the Kraith flagship, the response was swift. A harsh signal flooded the system, translated automatically into every known language. Human vessels. This system is under Kraith claim. Withdraw immediately or be erased. The human reply was immediate. No. Just one word. Simple. Solid. Final. The Kraith fired first. A wave of energy lanced toward the human line, enough firepower to shatter moons. The Aurelian command center braced for the impact, expecting to watch their last hope vanish in seconds. Instead, something strange happened. Human ships absorbed the attack. Not perfectly. Not effortlessly. But deliberately. Energy shields flared, layered shields, stacked in ways Aurelian scientists had never seen. Some failed. Some bent. Hulls scorched. Armor cracked. But the line held. Return fire, Admiral Hale said calmly. Human weapons answered. The void exploded. Kinetic rounds the size of buildings screamed through space at impossible speed. Missiles split into swarms, then split again, each one adapting mid-flight. Beams of concentrated energy punched through Kraith hulls with brutal efficiency. Several Kraith ships vanished in fire. Others were torn apart, not by elegance, but by overwhelming force. They're not fighting like anyone else, Corin said, stunned. They're not focusing on efficiency, they're focusing on survival. The humans advanced slowly, methodically, forcing the Kraith back step by step. Every human ship that took damage was immediately covered by two others. When one shield failed, another activated beneath it. Redundancy. Cooperation. Refusal to fall. On the surface of Aurelian, citizens poured into the streets, staring up at the sky. They saw shapes moving above the clouds, flickers of light, distant flashes. For the first time in days, the bombardment slowed. For the first time in a week, children heard something other than alarms. In the council chamber, Celine wiped tears from her face. They didn't have to do this. Elian shook his head slowly. No. They chose to. The Kraith adapted quickly. New formations emerged. Larger vessels moved forward, their weapons charging to catastrophic levels. They're escalating, Corin warned. This could wipe out both fleets. On the human flagship, Admiral Hale watched the same data with calm focus. Around him, officers worked with practice speed, calling out vectors and probabilities. Signal the reserve groups, Hale said. Activate Phase 2. Phase 2, a young officer asked. Already. Hale nodded. The Kraith believe we came to fight. A faint smile touched his lips. They're about to learn we came to finish this. Space rippled again, this time behind the human line. New shapes emerged. Smaller. Faster. Swarms of sleek vessels that moved like predators, slipping through Kraith formations, disabling engines, tearing apart command ships. These aren't standard warships, Celine said. What are they? Search and rescue, Corin replied quietly, reading the data. And hunters. The Kraith formation began to break. Confusion spread among them, something rare and dangerous for a species built on rigid hierarchy. Human ships exploited it immediately, striking command nodes, severing coordination, isolating targets. Within minutes, the Kraith advance stalled. Within an hour, they were retreating. They're pulling back, a technician shouted. Cheers erupted across the Aurelian command center. Elian did not cheer. He watched the human fleet, still moving, still pressing forward. Humans did not stop when the enemy hesitated. They did not pause to negotiate. They pushed. On a secure channel, Hale's voice returned. Aurelian command, he said. Your enemy is in disarray. We will pursue them beyond your system. Elian's voice trembled. You don't have to. Yes, Hale said firmly. We do. The transmission ended. As the human fleet surged forward, chasing the Kraith into the void, Elian felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not relief. Not joy. Something stronger. Trust. The galaxy had abandoned Aurelian. Humanity had not. And far beyond the stars, as the Kraith Dominion fled for the first time in its long history, a terrifying realization spread through their ranks. They had not attacked a weak species. They had awakened one. And humanity was not done yet. The Kraith Dominion had never retreated before. Across centuries of conquest, their records held no word for fear, only calculation. When resistance appeared, they increased pressure. When losses mounted, they escalated force. Retreat was illogical. Yet now, their ships fled. Human vessels pursued them past the outer edge of the Aurelian system, driving them away from the planet they had meant to erase. Space burned with debris and broken hulls as the Kraith Armada fractured into scattered groups, each trying to escape the closing net. On Aurelian, the bombardment stopped completely. The sky cleared. For the first time in 7 days, the stars were visible again. In the council chamber, silence returned, but this time it felt different. It was not the silence of waiting to die. It was the silence of people trying to understand how they were still alive. "They're pushing the Kraith beyond our borders," Corin said softly. "Not just defending us. Hunting them." Celine stared at the display, her voice barely audible. "No one has ever hunted the Kraith." High Speaker Elian felt a strange pressure behind his eyes. He had spent his life believing in careful choices and balanced risk. Humanity had shattered that belief in a single arrival. "They didn't come to survive," he said. "They came to stop them." In deep space, Admiral Rowan Hale stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute Dawn, watching the pursuit unfold. Damage reports streamed in, several human ships lost, many more damaged, but the fleet remained intact. More importantly, the Kraith were breaking apart. "Enemy command cohesion is collapsing," an officer reported. "They are scattering." Hale nodded. "As expected." An aide hesitated. "Sir, why didn't we just drive them off Aurelian and withdraw?" Hale turned slowly, his expression calm but heavy. "Because they'll just go somewhere else." He gestured toward the stars. And the next world might not have time to ask for help. The human fleet pushed deeper. What the Kraith did not understand, what no one in the galaxy fully understood, was that humanity did not fight wars the way others did. Most civilizations fought to protect borders. Humans fought to remove threats. The Kraith attempted counterattacks, concentrating fire on isolated human ships. Every time they did, they learned the same brutal lesson. Human vessels did not break easily. Their systems were layered, patched, repaired even while under fire. When a ship was crippled, others moved in without hesitation, shielding it, towing it, defending it. To the Kraith, this behavior was irrational. To humans, it was normal. One Kraith battle cluster attempted a final stand near a dying star, hoping the radiation would disrupt human sensors. Instead, the humans adapted. They recalibrated. They moved closer. The engagement lasted 11 minutes. No Kraith ships escaped. As the final hostile signals faded, Admiral Hale ordered a halt. "Recall pursuit groups," she said. "Establish perimeter." Her officers obeyed, but many looked uneasy. "This won't end them," one said. "They'll come back stronger." Hale's gaze remained fixed on the stars. "Then we'll be ready." Back on Aurelian, the human fleet returned, but not all at once. Damaged ships came first, escorted carefully. Medical and engineering vessels followed, immediately deploying aid craft toward the planet. "They're landing?" Celine asked. Elian nodded slowly. "Yes, they are." Human shuttles descended through the atmosphere, not in perfect formations, but in steady streams. They landed near cities, near citadels, near shattered infrastructure. The first humans Aurelian citizens saw were not soldiers holding weapons. They were medics, engineers, rescue crews. They wore heavy suits marked with simple symbols. They moved fast. They spoke gently. They worked without being asked. A Lyrathai child stared up at a human medic who was sealing a burn wound with careful hands. The human smiled behind her visor and gave a small wave. "It's going to be okay," she said, her translator humming softly. Across the planet, similar scenes unfolded. Human engineers reinforced failing shield generators. They patched power grids using unfamiliar but effective methods. They shared food supplies without negotiation. They didn't wait for permission, Celine observed. Elian watched a live feed of humans lifting debris from a collapsed habitation dome, pulling survivors free with grim determination. They didn't come for thanks. In the days that followed, the scale of what humanity had done became clearer. They had not sent a single fleet. They had mobilized nearly everything they had. Signals from human space revealed empty shipyards, rerouted patrols, and defensive lines pulled thin. Humanity had risked its own safety to save a world that most of them had never heard of. When Elian requested a formal audience, Admiral Hale agreed. They met aboard the Resolute Dawn. The human flagship was functional, not grand. Exposed beams. Thick floors. Scars from battle left unrepaired. "You saved us," Elian said simply. Hale studied him for a moment. "We helped." "You could have ignored our message," Elian continued. "Everyone else did." Hale nodded. "Yes." "Why didn't you?" Hale was quiet for a long moment. Then she answered. "Because once, a long time ago, no one came for us." Elian did not press further. "The Kraith will return," he said instead. "Yes," Hale agreed. "They will. And when they do." Hale's expression hardened, not with anger, but resolve. "Then they'll learn something important," she said. "Aurelian is not alone anymore." Word of the battle spread quickly. Across the galaxy, observers who had written off Aurelian watched recordings of the engagement in stunned silence. Analysts replayed human tactics frame by frame, trying to understand how a younger, smaller power had forced the Kraith to retreat. They reached the same unsettling conclusion. Humanity was not the strongest species in the galaxy, but it was the most dangerous kind. The kind that answered when others stayed silent. The kind that remembered abandonment. And the kind that never forgot an enemy. Far beyond known space, in the shadowed regions where the Kraith regrouped, ancient minds considered something they had never considered before. The galaxy had changed. And the humans had only just arrived. The galaxy did not celebrate. It watched. In quiet halls of power, leaders replayed the battle above Aurelian again and again. They slowed the footage. Zoomed in. Counted losses. Measured firepower. What disturbed them was not just that the Kraith had been driven back, it was how. Human ships did not rely on a single advantage. They relied on refusal. Refusal to retreat. Refusal to abandon. Refusal to let the enemy decide the rules. For centuries, the Kraith Dominion had functioned on fear. Entire regions of space stayed silent simply because resistance seemed pointless. Now, that certainty was cracked. And cracks spread. On Aurelian, recovery moved faster than anyone expected. Human engineers worked alongside HFY scientists, sharing techniques freely. They did not hoard knowledge. They did not demand payment. When asked why, the humans gave the same answer every time. Because you need it. High Speaker Elian walked through a rebuilt district where homes had once burned. Children played again. Not because the danger was gone, but because hope had returned. Yet Elian knew better than to believe the war was over. In the command center of the Resolute Dawn, Admiral Hale studied a map of known Kraith territories. New data streams poured in from scouts and listening posts. "They're reorganizing," an intelligence officer reported. "Different structure. More decentralized." "They're learning," Hale replied. That was the most dangerous thing of all. Humanity had won the first engagement because the Kraith had not understood them. That advantage would not last. "We can't defend every world," a strategist said. "If they strike multiple systems." "They won't," Hale interrupted. The room fell silent. "They won't scatter," she continued. "They'll come for us." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. "They can't ignore what happened," Hale said. "We humiliated them. Took away their myth. They'll want to erase it." She zoomed the display inward, toward human-controlled space. "They'll aim at Earth." Across the void, in a hidden Kraith assembly chamber grown from living stone and metal, the Dominion gathered. Massive forms stood in silence as data projections shimmered between them. Human ships, human tactics, human casualties. They bleed, one elder rasped. They are not invincible. No, another replied. But they are contagious. That word carried weight. Species across the border regions were already whispering, asking questions, considering resistance. All because one civilization had done what no one else would. The humans must be erased, the Dominion decreed. Not for their strength, but for their example. The Kraith began preparing something new. Not a swarm. A statement. On Earth, the sky was calm. People went to work. Children went to school. Most of humanity knew nothing about Aurelian beyond a brief mention in news feeds. The battle had been classified, restricted, buried under layers of security. But rumors spread anyway. Whispers of a fleet that jumped impossibly far. Of aliens rescued when everyone else said no. Of losses humanity could not afford, but accepted anyway. In a quiet memorial hall, Admiral Hale stood alone before a wall of names. Ships lost. Crews gone. She did not regret the decision. But she felt the weight of it. You did the right thing, a voice said behind her. She turned to see President Elias Morgan, hands clasped, face lined with exhaustion. The galaxy doesn't think so, Hale replied. Morgan sighed. The galaxy has never had to live with us. He stepped closer. The Kraith are mobilizing. We're seeing energy signatures we've never recorded before. Hale nodded. They're coming. Yes, Morgan said. And when they do, Earth will be the first real test. The decision was made quickly. Humanity would not wait. Shipyards across human space came alive. Old hulls were reforged. Experimental weapons were authorized. Civilian industries shifted overnight to wartime production. Humanity did not have the numbers of the older powers. So they compensated. They built faster. They built tougher. They built smarter. On Aurelian, Elian received a final message from Admiral Hale. We can't promise safety, she said. But we can promise this, we won't disappear. Elian bowed his head. Then neither will we. The Kraith strike came without warning. A spear of ships tore into human border space, targeting a fortified system meant to draw the Terran fleet out. Their weapons burned hotter than before. Their formations adapted, countering human tactics with frightening speed. The battle was brutal. Human losses mounted. But something unexpected happened. Other ships arrived. Not human. A small Velmari task force jumped in, weapons hot. Then a Talaris squadron. Then independent vessels, freighters hastily armed, patrol ships repurposed, crews who had watched Aurelian and chosen differently this time. They're joining us, an officer said in disbelief. Hale allowed herself a small, grim smile. That's the real danger, she said. Once someone stands up, others realize they can too. The Kraith fought savagely, but now they were outnumbered in something they had never planned for. Resolve. The battle ended with the Kraith withdrawing again, this time at a cost they could not ignore. Across the galaxy, something fundamental shifted. Humanity had not just defended a world. It had reminded the galaxy of a forgotten truth. Silence was a choice. And humanity had chosen otherwise. The war was far from over. But for the first time in galactic history, the darkness had been challenged. And it was afraid. The Kraith Dominion had prepared for resistance. They had not prepared for defiance. Across the contested systems, human fleets held the line alongside ships that should never have been there. The Velmari, once silent traders, now flew with weapon ports cut into their hulls. The Talaris, who had calculated survival to the last decimal, fought with a fury born of shame. Independent crews, miners, haulers, explorers, answered calls they would once have ignored. The galaxy was no longer watching. It was choosing. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Admiral Rowan Hale stood amid controlled chaos. Reports came in fast, casualties, reinforcements, shifting fronts. The Kraith were throwing everything they had into this assault. Ancient weapons. Experimental ships. Entire broods sacrificed without hesitation. They're trying to end it in one blow, an officer said. If they break us here. They won't, Hale replied. Not because she was certain. Because certainty didn't matter. Human tactics had changed again. They no longer fought only to destroy. They fought to hold, buying time, creating space for others to arrive. Human ships rotated out of combat to repair mid-battle. Damaged allies were pulled back, protected without question. It was messy, imperfect, effective. The turning point came quietly. A Kraith command vessel, larger than anything seen before, moved into the heart of the battle. Its weapons tore through defensive lines. Ships vanished. Panic rippled across the Allied channels. Hale watched the data scroll. Target that vessel, she said. Sir, it's shielded beyond. I know, Hale said. Send the message. Across every Allied frequency, her voice cut through. Human fleet is engaging the enemy command node. We are not retreating. Anyone who can stand with us, stand now. The Resolute Dawn surged forward, engines screaming. Human ships followed, not all of them. Some were too damaged. Some were already burning. Enough came. The assault was brutal. Human vessels absorbed punishment no simulation would have recommended. Armor failed. Shields collapsed. Crews fought fires while returning fire. And still, they advanced. When the Kraith command vessel finally broke apart, it did not explode elegantly. It tore. Its systems collapsed inward, ripping the ship from within. The shockwave rolled through space, disrupting Kraith formations across the region. The Dominion faltered. That hesitation was fatal. Allied fleets pushed hard. Humans led the charge, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to slow down. Within hours, the Kraith withdrew. Not in order. Not with purpose. They fled. In the aftermath, wreckage drifted where fear once ruled. The Allied fleets held position, unsure, exhausted, alive. On Aurelian, the news arrived slowly. First, confirmation of Kraith retreat. Then, reports of multiple systems liberated. Then, something no one expected. A transmission from Kraith space. It was brief. Withdrawn forces. Cessation of expansion. Territories abandoned. The Dominion had not surrendered. But it had learned. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed in ways no one could undo. Alliances formed without empires forcing them. Defense pacts written not on fear, but on memory. Smaller civilizations spoke louder. Larger ones listened. Humanity did not claim leadership. They did not demand tribute. They simply stayed. Admiral Hale stood once more on the surface of Aurelian, watching children play beneath a sky that was finally clear. High Speaker Elian joined her. The galaxy will remember this, he said. Hale nodded. So will we. You risked everything, Elian continued. For strangers. Hale looked out at the horizon. No, she said. We did it because we know what silence costs. Far away, in halls where power had once been absolute, leaders reviewed the same conclusion. Humanity was not perfect. Not the strongest. Not the oldest. But when the call came, when hope was thin and the odds were cruel, they came anyway. And the galaxy understood, at last, why silence had been a mistake. Because when humanity answered, everything changed.